Welcome to another episode of the Waters Runs Deep podcast. We're here with Amanda and Angela. Thank everyone for joining us. Please remember to rate and review on your podcast platform of choice. Helps us tremendously. Really, really helps us. Go ahead and follow us on Instagram at TWRD_podcast. And just tell anybody you can about us. Love to have new listeners. Build a little group we have going here. Now I'm going to hand it over to Angela. She can tell you about what we're talking about today.
All right. So this week we are uncovering the details as to the infamous murder that was performed by Lizze Borden. So everyone knows the rhyme, but we dig into the details about what happened and give our own theories of if she was guilty or not. But first, Amanda with Wacky World News.
Is it Borden or Burden?
Borden.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I know the rhyme, Angela.
We'll get there.
Okay, so you are going to share it. That was my question.
Yes.
I looked at the ask. Okay, because I was like, I got
that
feelings, but I don't think I know. I mean, really? Okay, Wacky World News. So Angela and I send each other about 722 Instagram messages a day. That does not count the amount of times we text per day. But most of the time, the things that we send each other, Chris, is weird stories we found on the internet. And so this week was especially giving in the weird news. Like, there were so many things I could have picked. Like, there was one about a woman who swam from Bangladesh to India to, like, meet the love of her life that she met on Facebook. But
I love Facebook.
Right. But I was like, I mean, maybe I'd do that. I probably wouldn't. I don't really like to swim, and it sounds kind of dirty and shark infested. But so that one wasn't the one I picked. But the one I picked, I have a reason, because I just feel like we need to talk about a couple of the reasons why this person did this. And then, would you do this? And etc. So a woman in New Jersey was 29 years old and was recently arrested for enrolling in high school that she attended for 4 days.
We had a never been kissed situation.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Like,
well, we don't know the backstory. Why?
And I tried to read it. Like, I tried to read the article, and it doesn't tell you why she did it, or also, how is this against the law? Like, that's my question. Because, like, is it because it's like false identity? Because she did produce like a false identity birth certificate and everything.
Yeah,
and we don't know if this was
of documentation.
Yeah,
didn't she use her original name? You know.
Yeah, she did. Remember. She just, but she just created a new fake birth certificate to prove it.
Wow.
So some thought went into this. Like,
yeah.
And my first question is, like, we don't know the motive. Like, maybe she didn't have a high school certificate, or maybe she, like, wanted to experience high school in New Jersey. I don't know. But would you ever want to go back to high school? Did I lose you both?
No.
I think I lost Chris, though.
Yes, we did.
All right, well, Ange, you can. And I don't know if it's fair to have you answer that, because high school was the most amazing time of your life, because I was in it 24/7.
So that's the thing. That's why I'm torn. It's like, okay, one, our high school doesn't exist anymore, right?
Mm-hmm. That's another story, which side note. Sorry, our listeners are probably sick of this, but I think that would be such an interesting topic for us to do, and we can do it as a side topic. Yeah, because for our listeners, Angela and I are from Baltimore, and we went to a high school that a Netflix documentary was made about it called The Keepers. We were not there during the time that The Keepers talks about. It was a different experience for us, for sure, but it's interesting now because our high school no longer exists. It was torn down. I think it's a parking lot now or a park.
So last time I drove by, the main building was still there.
Oh, okay.
But I think the last time our other friend Erica drove past it, her child had sent me a picture, and I think they were destroying it or demolishing it. So I don't know. I think
I read on the
few
Facebook
years.
group.
Yeah.
Because I follow the Facebook group for the keepers, and someone was like, yeah, thank God it's been demolished. And then our good friend Lindsay Baylor commented, and she was like, yeah, I agree that bad things happen there, but for some of us, it really was a wonderful time of friendship and like sisterhood. And people were like, well, you don't understand. And she's like, I do understand, but what I'm telling you is like 30, 40 years later, it wasn't as bad. So, anyways, would you go back to high school?
I think that's why I'm torn. Like, to go back in high school just to take the classes, hell to the no.
Right?
But if, like, we went back, like, who's to say that I would still meet the same people?
Well, I don't think you're going back in time.
Well, okay.
I mean, we could not go back at 37 years old. I think if I walked into there.
I mean, I have been told I look very young.
20 years younger, Ange? What are you taking panda uterus to like Paul Rudd yourself? Like, come on.
I might be Benjamin Buttoning.
I have paid lots of money that if my husband's listening to this, I got from a magical elf at the bottom of a rainbow to find face stuff to make me look 5 years younger. Because I'm like starting to really get red and all that stuff. Now I kind of want to enroll you in a high school to see if people believe it. I feel like I'd be like, what's that guy from? What's his name? He was a firefighter, and he was on Boardwalk Empire.
Firefighter, Boardwalk Empire. Your things I actually have not watched.
Oh, Boardwalk Empire is really good. Steve Buscemi. I feel like that Steve Buscemi meme that's like, hi cool guys.
What's going on, you cool cats?
Yeah. That's how I would be. How do you do, fellow kids? Right? Like, I'm in this group on Facebook called I think it's like for dinosaurs, and let me find it. And it's like, Chris can edit all of this out. This is just you and I talking now. I don't know where he is.
He's rejoined. He's back.
Oh, is he back? Okay, I was looking for the Facebook group that I was trying to tell you. I'm going to add you to it, Ange. It's like basically like for elder millennials, and they post things that like young kids say, and they're like, I don't know what this means. Can people explain this to me? I'm like, that's me. Oh, explain this to me as I'm over 30 and therefore a dinosaur. I'm like, that's me. All right, sorry.
Yes. So, taking out time travel.
Yeah.
I would not go back just to retake classes.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you would be doing, right? Because you're not going back to your high school time. Like, we are not going back to the early 2000s.
No.
Okay, so my question after we listen to this is, would you go back to high school? So, like, not high school, like, in the past. Like, I'm not saying go back to the past, but would you go back to high school? And Chris is just laughing away. Did you think about something good at high school? Like,
no, and nobody will get to hear this because I'll edit it out. But all I heard was click, 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 click.
That would be from,
that's what I was saying. But it's all good. Anyway, I've thought about this a lot. So, as weird as that sounds, I've thought about it in the sense that if I could hop in a time machine and go back in time and revert back to my younger self kind of thing, not like hop in a time machine. There I am as a 36-year-old in high school at the same time. I want to revert back to my high school self in that way. And just change some things that I did and some ways that I've taken, but I don't want to go back and live it as an adult and do it again. Like I don't miss high school in that sense. I miss high school in the sense that make some better choices per se. Not that I'm not happy with where I'm at. I just think I could have gotten more out of high school than I did. I know a little bit, but.
And what about you? Would you go back to high school?
Just to go back, no. At 37, no, thank you. That's a hard pass for me, especially since our high school doesn't exist.
So, my question, and I am the same. I might go back to college now, even though I think I'm too old.
Well, you're still in college.
Okay, but it's very different. I don't understand those hip kids and their Dawson River kids.
Those damn Dawson River kids.
They wouldn't even get that joke. Did I?
So young, so angry. Damn that rap music.
Damn that rap music. There was this young woman that it goes to my alma mater for undergrad who was in my sorority, and I was talking with her, doing some mentor career stuff with her. And I was like, oh, you're the person who's the director of this program at your school. I went to St. Leo with him, to college with him. And we were really good friends. And she's like, but he's like 40. And I was like, how dare you? I was like, Edison's not 40. He's like 35. She's like, but you're not like 35. You're like 27. And I was like, and don't you forget it.
That's so funny.
No, knowing that Edison and I are Edison's literally like a month older than me.
Oh my God. That's funny.
Oh yeah.
That's so funny. So my one friend, not our friend Erica, but my other friends, her boyfriend, he has 2 kids, and the oldest is 11 and the youngest is 9. And him and I are months apart with our age. Actually, a year or something. Or no, I think we graduated the same year. I can't keep up. But they think he is so much older than I am, and we were so close to being the same age. They're like, but you're like only 20-something. I'm like, oh, bless you, child. Try again. Dad and I are the same age.
I never get
How
that.
Dare you?
If I shave my beard, I would get it though. Yeah, I don't. And if I shave my beard, I probably would. I always feel like I had a baby face. That's why I had the beard. But I'll just shave it one time. Emma's never seen me without a beard.
Really?
Yeah, like if she would not. I guarantee you, it would blow her mind if she saw me without a beard.
I can't remember the last time I saw you without a beard.
Yeah, been a long time.
Probably since
I've known you your whole life,
born.
so I definitely could remember times.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
I also remember times when you were your hair was so white and your beard was red.
Yeah.
When you first started growing it out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember I know my dad. There are times, but Chris, could you remember my dad not having a beard? I feel like he had a beard almost all the time.
I remember him having a mustache for a period of time and a goatee as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But without clean shaven, maybe once. Maybe.
Yeah.
But
that's like my dad without a mustache.
Yeah.
That's like my dad with hair on his head.
I actually don't remember that. I never remember your dad having hair.
Me neither. He they're on like a month-long cruise right now.
That's what he was telling me.
God damn. Every time I think about it, I get jealous. But I'm happy for them. Both retired and living it up. Good for them. They deserve it.
Work their way towards it. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think that the part about this story that gets me is it's not going back in time. Like, I would love to go back just one day and spend time with my friends from high school. I sure is, and going back, knowing what I know now and making change. Like, I sure as shit wouldn't have been so, like, uncomfortable
Angsty?
in my skin. Yeah, like, I was super angsty in high school, but, you know, like, I feel
Weren't
like
we
I found
all?
myself in college. Like, that's when I, like, decided I liked how I looked, and, like, I wasn't, like,
But
as not shy, but, like, you know, and I mean, she's fun every day with me. I feel like I probably would have told some people off, you know, now, like, I wouldn't have cared what people thought. But I guess that
And
comes
who
with age,
knows?
right? Because I feel like,
Yeah, who knows?
well, I'm
See,
not going back to our 20th
Would have
anniversary.
gotten me in a cult if you were that confident, or a gang.
It was a great game.
that's true. I don't think one day would be enough, though. That's the thing. I think you'd need more than just one day. But hey, it is what it is.
I also, like, wonder if, you know, the butterfly effect too, right? So if you went back and you just changed one thing, would it change everything that when you came back to the future, you no longer were in the life you live? And would that, like, that then makes me wonder, what would I have lost, right? Like, would I have still met Adam? Would I have still gone to Dubai? Or would I be married to somebody and, like, I met somewhere else, you know? God forbid
and
I would be married to my high school little boyfriend.
Hopefully in a future topic, we'll go over time travel and delve into those fun parallels.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one.
For sure.
The only thing I know for sure is I'd always be a Florida Gators fan.
Are you sure about that?
All right. Fuck yeah.
Butterfly effect.
It's like bred into us.
Yeah.
Right, Chris? We're like bred into being Gator fans.
Yeah, but if you're changing one thing, that might be your one thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also the grandfather parallax. You ever heard of that?
No, what's that?
It's basically like, to go into the short of it, and in a future topic, we talk time travel, go over. But basically, if you go back in time, so the way they explain it is, if you go back in time and you're saying, you know, I hate my grandfather, I hate my father, I want to make sure he never existed. So I'm going to build this time machine. I'm going to go back in time, and I'm going to kill my grandfather, so that way my father never existed. Well, if you go back in time and do it, then it's like, will you ever exist? And if you don't exist, how will you go back in time to kill your grandfather? You know, it's kind of like this weird parallax that it's
the
almost
Back to the Future paradox.
Yeah, basically. It's really, really confusing to think about, because it's like, it gets into the chicken and the egg, and it's just very hard to wrap your brain around it, you know. I think, just thinking of it quickly on the outside, I think it is possible, because you can always do something. You can't take it away. So you could go back in time and take out your grandfather, but then you just disappear, like Back to the Future. You just fizzle out. So you just inadvertently killed yourself, because now you don't exist because your father never existed. But it all depends on how consciousness works, because you may not exist as him as your father, but you may come back and have somebody else as your father because you were chosen to come back from a different family or whatever. You know, it's just weird. It could go down so many avenues, and it really makes me look forward to talking about that topic.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. You're talking on mute.
Anyways, I was going to say we talk more about this, but scientifically, we know that Andrew and I were living in our grandmother, like, uterus, because of egg development and stuff. So
Say what?
Yeah, so like when women, how do you explain it? So like women genetics, like the X chromosome comes from the egg, right? And then the other X or Y comes from the sperm. So part of you was always living in your mother, who was living in their grandmother, going back.
That's fucked.
It's really weird to think about it.
It is.
Yeah. Like your genetics
You're
were already
kinda-
there.
You were always meant to be.
Yeah.
I
But
can dig it.
like your gender, though, is decided by your dad. Or your sex. Sorry, your gender is decided by your mind. But your sex is decided by your dad.
No, I'm
Because
confused.
they are the ones that carry the Y and the X. Because women are XX and men are XY.
Is it? All right, never mind. I'm not even going to say it. Moving on.
Let's not go down that rabbit hole of gender versus sex.
Yeah, I was
I've been
about to
watching
go
a
there.
lot of TikTok, so.
And it's
All
mere
right, wow.
it's not out of anger. Clear it up. It's not out of anger. It's out of curiosity. Just to clear it up. But going forward, here we go.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic. All right, let's talk about Lizzie the Innocent Borden.
Oh, we're holding judgment. We're PBJing. Or I'm sorry, we're innocent until proven guilty with her right now. So I'm butchering this already. All right. So Lizze Borden, who is one of the most well-known axe murderers, allegedly, who was tried and acquitted of the murders of her father and stepfather in Fall River, Massachusetts. Based on these murders, there is a little
Stepmother, right?
rhyme.
Not stepfather.
I said father and stepmother, did I not?
I'm just making sure. Okay.
I'm reading. That's why I'm asking. Do I need to do it?
No, it's fine.
Might need to edit that out. I was on mute.
Wonderful. So there's this well-known rhyme. Lizze Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. And when she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. So that is not actually true. That count of how many whacks occurred is not the correct count. But we'll get into that later. So Lizzie was born Lizzie Andrew Borden on July 19th, 1860, and passed away at the ripe old age of 66 on June 1st, 1927. She died of pneumonia before her older sister's death. And she, after the whole trial of the murders, she remained in Falls River, Massachusetts. So here's the events leading up to the day of the murder, or just give you a little background. Her father remarried 3 years after her mother had died. So he had married, oh God, I don't have her name. Shit. Anyway.
You're the fact checker. You can fill it in.
I know. So once he remarried, it was Lizzie and her sister Emma. They were older. I did the math. So when the murders were committed, Lizzie was around the age of 32. And there is a lot of discussion about how Lizzie often butted heads with their stepmother, specifically over financial matters. Now, the Borden family was, at this point, very rich for this time. So her father was, always their way on business. And then when, the trial ends, I'll kind of go into, what kind of inheritance her and Emma had received. So The morning of August 4th, 1892, her father had left the house on business, so it was just Lizzie at the house with her stepmother and the maid, whose name was Bridget Sullivan. Her older sister Emma was away visiting someone. Her father returned to the house later that day and settled in with a nap. The testament that Lizzie gave stated that she had discovered her father dead, repeatedly struck in the head with a sharp instrument, and upstairs, his wife's body was found even more brutally mutilated. Examination proved that her death had preceded her husband's by an hour or so.
Wow.
Yeah.
So say that again. So her father died an hour before her mother, or did I have that backwards?
Her father was dead before the stepmother was murdered.
Okay. That's what I thought. Okay.
And during the investigation, it was uncovered that Lizzie tried to purchase prussic acid, which is a poison, one day before this happened. And then a few days later, Lizzie was found to have attempted to burn a dress in the stove. Not saying it was the dress that she wore on the day the murders were committed, but it does cause a little questioning on if Lizzie actually did this.
Did the police question her why she burned it, or no? Probably not.
I couldn't find anything on that. But just because I was kind of looking into why she might have wanted to purchase this acid, it's also known as cyanide. So it's, very quick to kill people.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. I'm like, why, if you were did you premeditate these murders trying to buy this acid, or were you trying to use it for something else? Because it is used on animals, so it inhibits oxygen utilization by the animal at a cellular level, resulting in suffocating.
But that's not a common way of killing animals in that time, because you wouldn't be able to eat the animals or anything. It'd kind of be a waste. I feel like she premeditated. Maybe not.
Well, it's also interesting because just after the trial, and I guess get into this later, but we can talk about it now. But in her will, she had left a very large sum of money to the Animal Rescue League in Fall River, to the sum of $30,000.
So she loved animals then.
Yes. Stating, that she had always been fond of animals and their need is great and there are so few who take care of them. But there was speculation, across town or in neighboring towns, that she often killed kittens and robins simply because she wanted to hold funerals.
Oh, so she's enticed with the morbid.
Yes, but there was no real evidence to support that Lizzie was cruel to any sort of animals.
And that could have arose. Yeah, that could have arose from her, the murders. It could have just been a rumor that came from the murders occurring and trying to build this case around her socially to, make her guilty too.
Yeah, because isn't that one of the signs of a killer, if they like to mutilate animals?
Yeah. He's a psychopath. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sociopath.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, Amanda.
So I also think that, with the burning of the dress and everything, that's super interesting. Didn't they also find, and maybe you'll talk about the dance, but they also found buckets of blood, and she said not blood, but bloody rags, and she was on her period, and she's like, that's what that's from.
didn't have
she
a
was
way
already
to test
suspicious
that.
because she was right, not back then, right? And they're also like suspicious because like she's 36 and not married and like living with her dad, and that's like what's wrong with this old maid?
Well, that's later in the story.
Oh, okay, sorry.
With an interesting fact about that. But the police also did suspect the maid because she was reported to be leaving the house with an unexamined partial. So that might have been maybe the murder weapon. But she was, cleared of being a suspect. They weren't able to find any murder weapon, but did find the axe in the basement, which is why that was the prime target. But Lizzie was tried and acquitted for both of the murders due to circumstantial evidence. So, obviously, a lot of speculation back in the late 1800s. Obviously, they didn't have DNA like we do now. So, it's, I guess, your word against mine. If I committed a murder and they couldn't find a murder weapon. Which I've found kind of interesting. Like, how much evidence would you have needed back then? Because you look at all the, I guess the evidence that they were trying to put against witches and stuff, and they were just going out there and killing without any real concrete evidence. So I'm glad they expanded from that. But still, like, I'm just curious what the guidelines might have been during that time.
I'm sure it's probably a mixture. No, yeah, I think it's a lot of testimony. I think a lot of that was based off testimony of he said, she said. A lot of the stuff that probably would have been omitted in court now, without hard factual evidence. I mean, they could present a weapon and present that it was found in the possession of a person, but fingerprints and photograph, a lot of that stuff wasn't a thing back then. So I think a lot of it was based off of he said, she said testimony and just basic factual evidence.
Yeah. And I think that I think there is a lot of he said, she said, but we have folks nowadays who are going back and looking at old cases and saying, like, is there ways now to look at and figure out? I think, Lizze Borden's story isn't as probably one that's being searched as much, but I think about like Jack the Ripper, like folks are really going back and re-examining what they found. And like now they're saying like maybe Jack the Ripper was like Jackie the Ripper, maybe it was a woman. So kind of interesting. I also think about like in these times, there's a lot of stereotypes that play at hand for like Lizzie, and we'll talk about that, and her sister and all of that. That I wonder if that also comes to play in the case of like, well, she's odd because she's not married, or she's odd because she likes animals, or because she's an introvert, or how much at that time did not fitting into society play into the courtroom.
Yeah, that and
that's
obviously
I wouldn't have survived. I would have been a witch. Witch, you're a bitch.
Well, I mean, obviously her family was very well known in that town, so just goes to what you were just saying about society and stuff. Like, they're a well-respected family in the community. So, but what I found interesting was that both the skulls of her father and her stepmother were brought into the trial as evidence.
I guess to show the gruesomeness of the murders, maybe. I think to persuade the jury, but I can't think of another reason.
Get a reaction. Maybe to get her reaction to see if it was genuine or not. Because on the second day of the trial, she had fainted when they brought out the skulls during the district attorney's opening remarks. And then later in the trial, the prosecution demonstrated for the jury how a hatchet blade found in the basement fit neatly into the holes in the smashed up skulls, though they never explicitly said that the implement was the murder weapon. But most Borden scholars believe that it was more of a hatchet than an axe after examining it. So to give you a count, since our
do we still have the skull? Like, could you go back and could they bones it? I've been really watching a lot of Bones lately.
Could they bones it? Like, put it back together?
Yeah.
I've never seen Bones.
Like, figure out.
Anthropology.
It's a possibility. It's a possibility.
It's so good.
They're still around.
It's on Prime right now.
Her father and her mother and Lizzie herself were buried, so we could probably exhume them from their graves and figure it out. But her stepmother, Abby, had suffered about 18 blows, and then her father, Andrew, was dealt 11. And then contemporary accounts distinguish between hatchets and axes and say that the murder weapon was most likely a hatch based on what we know today. So after she was acquitted, her and her sister Emma inherited a fortune from her father and stepmother, which in today's standards was more than $8 million.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that.
Right. I don't know how much it was during, Lizzie times, but more than $8 million. That's a good penny to get as an inheritance. And then in 1905, Lizzie changed her name to Lizbeth to distance herself a little bit further from the murders, and then her tombstone has Lizbeth instead of Lizzie on it. And even though, she got acquitted, she was acquitted of the murders, her and her sister still remained in Fall River till they both passed. Her sister did eventually leave as they became estranged. And that's where the interesting social aspect that Amanda was talking about earlier, her being odd at 32, not being married during those times. So I found an article that said Emma may have believed that Lizzie had a romantic relationship with an actress named Nance O'Neill, because she was seen visiting her frequently after the inheritance.
So Lizzie was a Lizzie.
Mm-hmm.
Is what? Okay, 2 questions. One, was her sister also part of the conviction or the trial, or just Lizzie?
Just Lizzie. Because her sister was out of town when the murders happened.
Oh, all right. And
what about the maid?
Somewhere, yeah.
No, the maid was dropped because they didn't have any evidence against her. Aside from that,
I thought I read somewhere
partial.
that Lizzie and the maid were getting it on.
Lizzie and the maid? I didn't find that.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't find it hard to believe that the maid, she wasn't feeling well or something, right? And she was sleeping upstairs or something like that when it happened, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
I find it hard to believe that she was able to sleep through and not go check on all this commotion. I mean, you think about it, that's no different than somebody chopping wood in the middle of the house in 2 different areas of the house with or without screaming, that you think it would cause some attention from maid who's going to have to clean all that shit up potentially. Whether it's wood or bodies or whatever,
No, that's a good point.
I think I would want to come in and see what the hell's going on.
What do I have to clean up later? Yeah, that's a really good point.
This bitch
exactly.
I would also be like, what the fuck? Yeah, I think it's mighty weird that she didn't come in to be like, what's all? Isn't she Irish? She should be like, what's all this noise? A not good Irish accent. Very dream.
Yeah, it was terrible. That was better.
Yeah, I know. I always think of our Angela and I had an Irish math teacher.
We were talking about Colm the other day.
Oh. But yeah, like I imagine she would come in and be like, I don't know what's going on here. But maybe she knew, like maybe Lizzie and her were friends. She was like, look, I'm sick of their shit and I'm taking them out. And either you can be involved or you can stay away, but this is what's happening.
Well, they still have like different maid quarters, so she might have lived in a different part of the house. I mean, the house right now is a bed and breakfast where you can stay there and go on tours.
It's not. It's part of the house. It's all the way upstairs in the attic.
So if she's up in the attic, her dad's downstairs taking a nap, and then the stepmother is like in their room, you would think that by the time whoever killed them made their way up to the stepmother's room, she would be able to hear screams better than on the main level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I think, at least.
I mean, just going by my knowledge of like older homes and stuff, especially like during that time, they're built pretty solid and noises did not travel well.
Well, they definitely can withstand some whacks with an axe or a hatchet.
Yeah.
Or like the screams. Like, I think that's what gets me, right? Like, there has to be screams.
I don't know. I mean, you get whacked in the head with an axe. I mean, that might just
you hit the right spot. You like one of your lobes. Just you won't be able to speak, right?
Separate the right from the left.
Yeah.
And if you're sleeping and they just kill you in your sleep, you just drift off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's crazy to think about, isn't it? Shoo.
But the other thing is, like, I could see her maybe killing her stepmom if she doesn't like her stepmom. Or I don't agree with it, but I could like kind of see that. But like, there has to be some, like, why would you kill your dad? Unless there's some trauma there, but like, why 32 years later?
I think there is some trauma there. I don't know if you have any theories on this, Angela.
I don't. So proceed.
So Bridget Sullivan was very protective of Lizzie, apparently. So I'm thinking she kind of was like not a motherly figure, but was very protective and kind of looked after Lizzie more than the rest of the family. So I'm thinking that maybe there was something going on between the dad and Lizzie, and the maid was sick of it because she had a thing for Lizzie or cared for her as a motherly figure or whatever, just was tired of seeing it and took out the dad and then took out the stepmother for enabling it. I definitely think that's a possibility, but I have another theory as well that I'll mention later on, but I definitely think that's a good possibility.
Or Lizzie and the maid had a thing and the father found out about it.
Yeah, for sure. And they were trying to cover it up. I also think I think there's a curse. I think the family's cursed in general. There was a fifth cousin that existed. Her name was Sarah Cornell. Did you see anything on her?
Mm-mm.
So Sarah Cornell was a fifth cousin of Lizzie, and this was 60 years prior to the murders. A Methodist reverend named Reverend Ephron Avery was strongly suspected of a rape or murder and was rumored to be the father of the unborn child of Sarah Cornell's unborn child. And she was found hanging in a tree in the local park there. So there's people suspect that the whole family's cursed because they constantly having these issues. There's also a possibility of some occult stuff going on too that could have led to this curse. And that involves the uncle a little bit. I don't know did you have anything on the uncle?
Mm-mm.
So the uncle, and these are like oddities that I figured Angela wouldn't catch because they're like way off basis. So So the uncle that was there, I know, right?
That's your realm.
The tables have turned. So the uncle, John Morse, he was there visiting at the time, and he was not at the house when the murders occurred. He was out visiting with somebody else, but he was in town when the murders occurred. When he was questioned by when the police questioned him, he provided like a really overly detailed alibi. It almost seemed like too good to be anything, like it was just too played out that he like really took good notes in order to provide this alibi. So there's also rumors that he dabbled in the occult, and his family is actually linked to witchcraft and the occult dating back to the 1600s. So could that be the origin of the Borden curse? Definitely could see that. So that in his end, this is the other fun topic about the Uncle John Morse. He was a butcher by trade, and a butcher uses a cleaver, which is very, very similar to an axe. And some of them have a head that is extremely similar to an axe because they'll have like a meat tenderizer on one end and then they'll have a cleaver on the other. So it's a good possibility that he may himself have committed the murders. But the other interesting thing about the trial, like this was like the equivalent to the O.J. Simpson trial of the time. You remember how popular the O.J. Simpson trial was during the, what was that, late 90s? This was like the O.J.'s, or mid to late 90s. It was like the O.J. Simpson trial at the time, so everybody was following it and listening intently to hear the outcome of it. It's just absolutely crazy to think about that they couldn't. I mean, it is. I understand why they couldn't figure out because they don't have a way of working the case like they do now. It's just people making accusations and assumptions and trying to fill gaps. And if there's not much to go off of, there's not much that they can, do with that.
Yeah, I didn't look into the occult side, so thanks for that extra.
Yeah, I figured. That's my realm, so I figured I'd fill that void there.
So I just had a couple more things that I thought were pretty interesting. Well, the next one I thought was pretty interesting. So there was a made-for-TV series in 1975 based on Lizze Borden called The Legend of Lizze Borden. And the actress that played Lizzie was Elizabeth Montgomery, who Amanda, you should know her as Samantha from Bewitched.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I thought of Back to the Future, and I was like, no, that doesn't seem right.
No, that was Leah Thompson as his mom. But what was interesting is that Elizabeth Morgan is actually related to Lizze Borden. She is her sixth cousin once removed.
Wow.
That's cool. Did she know that before she did the thing, or
I don't know.
Someone told her later.
Maybe not.
Ancestry.com.
Yeah, right. I don't think they had that in the 70s. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty interesting. That the actress that it was related. Yeah. And then the other thing was just about the house. Her house since 2004, it's been operated as a bed and breakfast, so you can stay in the very room where Abby Borden was murdered. A few months prior to October 12th in 2021, the house was sold to Lance Zahl, who is an entrepreneur who owns a company called U.S. Ghost Adventures. Chris, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him.
No, I didn't know the house sold. I know I think it was a couple that owned it previous to that, but I didn't know the house sold a couple years ago. That's interesting. So obviously you know what he's doing with it. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what it was being used for even before he bought it, was ghost adventures, type stuff. Because I know pretty much every ghost show out there that I know of has done the episode there. There's a couple interesting things about different rooms in the house. I know if you lay on the stepmother's bed and have your feet hanging off, that apparently there's something supposed to come out from under the bed and like grab and push your feet down or pull on your feet or something. Pretty interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously we all know.
Wait,
that
is it no?
bed and
So it's
breakfast.
not a bed and breakfast anymore.
No, it still is. So Lance's plans included hosting a hatchet throwing contest in the parking lot.
Oh, that's fitting.
And then having murder mystery events and paranormal teams come in and
This sounds like
investigate.
my perfect vacation.
Sounds like paranormal Disney World.
Right. This is where I want to go for like vacation and or like a fun family holiday. We'll send Adam to Disney World with Robin and Chris, and then you and I can go do that.
Right?
I looked on the website so that you can still stay there. You can pay extra for the 3 different rooms. Obviously, her stepmother's being one, and then they're still doing the ghost tours, house tours, and then ghost hunts at night. Yeah. And then, Chris, I don't know if you remember, there was an episode of Supernatural where they were staying at the house.
Yes. Sure do. Yeah, that was a pretty good one. And she makes a comeback too, I think, in the later episodes when they had like all the like serial killers coming after him in one episode. They were at like a motel or something, and they were all like all the ghosts of the serial killers were back and trying to take him out, I think, or something like that. I remember another episode where she made a comeback with
yeah.
Well,
the one that was specifically with Lizze Borden was season 11, called Thin Lizzie. But
oh, nice.
Was she pretty, like, or was she evil?
I don't remember.
I don't watch Supernatural.
They usually go a little prettier, a little comely.
Yeah, they in most of the reenactments I've seen, they use a pretty attractive female to play her. Like the latest one I've seen, they do shock docs on Discovery Plus, and they did one. It's like The Curse of Lizze Borden or something like that. And I know that the actress they use for her, she's fairly attractive, but she's more fitting to what I think Lizze Borden actually looked like. But she's still, of course, they did her up to make her attractive. But
that was my question. Was she considered pretty back in the day, Ange?
I don't know if you've had a chance to take a look at her, but
no,
not really. I mean, that might just be our standards of pretty, but
yeah, I mean, like, they didn't really have dentists, and they didn't spend $90 on face wash like some people. Not me, Adam. Not me.
Here, I'll show you what she looks like, man.
Yep.
Oh, she's not bad. I mean, she's a good jawline.
Yeah, this picture, she's not bad. I'm not digging the part, but
I'm gonna start doing.
I mean, the rest of her face is symmetrical.
This?
Is that her? There, she looks good.
Yeah, she's pretty.
That must have been a younger picture. Yeah.
Look, I can do my hair like her.
Yeah, not guilty.
Yeah,
Look at
she's
that.
not. Oh, the picture of her dad. Go back up.
Yeah, there's photos. You could see the photos of the murder.
When was this again? Sorry, I know you told us, but I forgot.
1892.
Oh yeah, so they totally had cameras and stuff.
So there's the dad.
Yeah, we'll post this picture of her. Oh man.
Yeah, he's like you see everything. He's like totally done in.
They were like one and done pictures. Like you blew a light bulb every time you took a picture.
The stepmother wasn't the gruesomest picture is the most gruesome picture is the father. the stepmother, it's not really much there. She's just like kind of slumped over, and you just see her like butt sticking in the air. I don't know if you can see that there.
Yeah. Whew. That is.
Yeah, there you
That
go.
is some pictures.
That's all you see.
Oh yeah.
She's like in a kneeling position, just slumped over. Oh, there is another picture from another view, but it's a crappy picture.
Yeah,
it's pretty
Why
wicked,
couldn't they have
man.
invested in an iPhone?
Yeah, right.
Is the blood
iPhone
stain
1?
still on the floor? Oh, look at that one. What have I got? They have one that's like in the face.
Where? Oh, that's a reenactment, I think. That's a reenactment.
Yeah.
From a TV show.
Oh yeah, it's from a TV.
Look at this guy. What's he doing?
Okay, so who called the cops on them being dead?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. There wasn't any detail as to that.
Was that her posing
that's
next
what
to
I
her?
want to know.
When I was looking, I couldn't find
them being dead. Yeah, like I wonder, like, did the uncle come home? Like that would be my question too, or was it Lizzie herself?
I think it was the maid. I want to say it was the maid that found. I'm pretty sure it was the maid.
Oh, it was the maid. Yeah.
Yep. So okay, I found. So the maid came back after having finished washing outside windows around 10:30 a.m. and reported hearing a muffled laughing coming from upstairs. She assumed it was Lizzie making the noise. Lizzie, of course, denied being upstairs at this time period between her mother's murder and her father's murder. Huh.
Oh, apparently it was Lizzie who told her. So apparently she said, "Maggie, come quick. Father's dead. Someone came in and killed him."
She did that shit. I think, I don't know, man. Either Lizzie or the maid did it, I feel like.
Yeah. There's a second verse to the rhyme. So the second verse is, Andrew Borden now is dead. Lizzie hit him on the head. Up in heaven he will sing. On the gallows she will swing.
That's funny.
That's not gruesome or anything.
Nope.
I always get this case mixed up with the Visalia Axe murder house. And I constantly get the details mixed up between the two. And now that we went over this case, I can't remember the Visalia. It's like Viscalla. It's out in like Idaho or I don't know, one of them I states, Idaho. Fuck, I can't even think of any more I states. How stupid am I?
Iowa,
Iowa,
Indiana, Idaho.
Yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, but it's interesting in that
just grew up in the East Coast.
And that one, they actually still have they suspect they still have the murder weapon. It's not 100%, but they suspect they still have the murder weapon from that.
How did you spell it?
Visalia, Viscalla. Is that right?
Yeah. I've never heard of it. It's in Iowa.
Oh, see, I was right.
Lizzie was before that, because it says that house was 1912.
Oh.
Do you think maybe
that one
Lizzie did that one too?
Well, and that's the thing. There's no suspects for this one. Like, it just happened. It was like the person came in, did it, and rolled out. Like, there's no suspects whatsoever. And it was like a whole family, kids and all. It's terrible.
Yeah, it says his family of 6 and their 2 visitors were bludgeoned to death.
Yeah.
Huh. We'll have to do that on another episode. Kind of want to know more about this one now.
So I don't think she did it. I think that the uncle did it or the maid did it. And the reason I don't think Lizzie did it is because she had nothing to lose. She was like cush living. And like she was like this tiny thing. Like I don't see her being able to like lift an axe and like hit that many times. And then be able to change her clothes so fast without the maid seeing her covered in blood and hide everything before telling her, the maid, oh my God, Dad's dead. Like, I just don't think that adds up.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. I mean, you get adrenaline flowing. It gets you able to do more than you're able to do. I do think it's possible she could have handled doing it. I mean, think about it. Back then, women were much. How can I put this? I'd see a woman being able to swing a hatchet, and especially it's not like a heavy hatchet or heavy axe either. It's a hatchet they suspect. So, I mean, anybody can pick up a hatchet and swing it repeatedly because it's only a few pounds.
Yeah, it's a little lighter than an actual axe, so it is a little bit more plausible.
Yeah, I mean, what total? It was like 40 times, I think, between the two, roughly.
It was 11 and 18.
Oh, okay, so a little shy of 80, or 40 rather. But so I mean, it's possible that she could have done it, but that I wouldn't count her out just because of not being able to physically do it. I think she was involved. Whether she had the axe in her hand, I don't know, but it could be that all three of them were in on it. That's the whole reason why the uncle was visiting, is to assist Lizzie and the maid taking out the parents. You know, the uncle could have been jealous that he's working as a butcher, you know, going with scraps, and his family, his wife's family or his sister's family, I believe, is living on happy and rich, and he's got nothing. So definitely could see a possibility of that. I don't know. It's a very tough case, and without the physical evidence and forensics to go over it to really nail someone down, I could see where they had trouble pinning it on somebody.
I feel like nowadays this wouldn't happen because you wouldn't get away with it. Like, because they can do like not splash patterns. That's terrible. But like blood patterns, right? Like this is the exact angle. This is how much the person blood spatter. Thank you. They can do like they can look for DNA samples if like my hair fell out while I was around there. You know, like there's just so much that I don't think.
Well,
whoever did
the hair falling out would be hard
nowadays.
The hair falling out would be tough because all the suspects were frequent flyers in the house, so finding a piece of hair would be circumstantial as well. The blood spatter's good. Definitely have come a long way in that with forensics, to see the height of the person when they did it and things like that. But it's tough. I mean, they had a lot against them to iron this out back then. I'm not sure other than actual finding the murder weapon and getting evidence off that, like fingerprints. I mean, I still think it would have been really difficult to nail them down. And it's surprising because back then their interrogation tactics were much more loose because of the times that I'm surprised they weren't able to get it out of somebody and make them spill the beans on, who done it,
right? Because like they didn't even have DNA like evidence science until the 90s, right?
I think they knew of DNA. I don't think they used it, and even attempted to use it in legal until I think the 70s. I want to say, if I remember criminal law right. I could be wrong with that, but
there was who was the other killer that they? No, that was Teeth Bites. That was Ted Bundy. But that was the
Yeah.
70s,
Yeah.
so that's probably when they
Yeah, I think
started doing DNA testing too. I'll fact check it.
But I think it wasn't admissible until the 90s, so I think you're partially right, Amanda. Or the 80s or something like that. But yeah, our fact checker.
I mean, it's come a long way. Like nowadays,
for sure.
they can use like Ancestry.com to like find murderers. Like 3 or 4 cases have been solved because someone's DNA. Like the case that happened in Moscow, Iowa, with the 4 college kids dead. The reason they were able to like so quickly find the guy that they are charging with it was because of DNA testing, like from like Ancestry.com, you know? So it's kind of interesting that they're able to like kind of connect that. And there was a guy, I read a book, I can't think of what it's called now. There's like an HBO special too about it. The woman has since passed, but she wrote about these murders that were happening in like San Francisco or San Diego or something. And then all of a sudden they stopped and they thought maybe the person stopped or was dead. And then they started again like a little bit later and they were able to find the murderer because of DNA testing. So I think that's really cool, especially when we think about serial killers, which is something I always listen to. But and we hear these stories about like husbands who kill their families or whatever. A lot of times, like it is, they usually figure it out pretty quickly because of the ability to look at like DNA and like their website, like their web browser history. So
yeah.
Apparently, there's this guy that like killed his family in Utah, I think, and which is tragic because it was like his wife and his children, and then himself, I think, afterwards. But I may be confusing 2 stories. Anyways, his like search browser history was like how to dispose a body, how to use chemicals to dispose a body in a bathtub. Like all these things. It's like, buddy, incognito is for you. Your wife can't find what porn you're looking at. Not how to dispose a body. Like they can figure that out.
Right.
This one time when I was working at Old Dominion, we had a Halloween like haunted house, and the theme was like haunted wedding, I think. And I think that's what it was. And my friend Chuck went to Walmart and had to get like plastic, like big black trash bags and like mask, like thick electrical tape and all these things to like help line the walls of the room we were making into like the haunted maze. And then he also had to get wedding stuff for like the decorations. He got pulled aside by the Norfolk police to chat about his purchasing.
Oh, jeez.
And he had to like show like what he was doing and like explain what it was.
Holy cow.
Somebody reported him because they were like, this man's a creeper. So at least people are being vigilant. But
yeah. See something, say something.
That's why you hit multiple stores.
Right. Right. Buy your wedding stuff at a different store.
Yes. Don't buy it all over.
That's why you use DuckDuckGo instead of Google to search your how to kill your wife in a bathtub.
Not that we're suggesting to do that.
Don't.
We don't advocate that.
DuckDuckGo, we'd love to be sponsored.
Yeah, if we can iron that out, that'd be awesome. All right. Well, I think that wraps us up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's been the Lizze Borden case. We'd like to hear everybody's opinion on who they think done it. Leave us a comment on our Instagrams at TWRD_podcast. You can also send us an email at thewatersrundeeppodcast, all one word, at gmail.com. Please leave us a rate and review on your platform of choice. It really does help us. It gets us up on the list. It, lets people find us easier, and it just gets us out there. And tell your friends, your family, and whoever listens to podcasts or you think would like to listen to podcasts and hear us chat about these different topics. And as always, if you have an idea for a topic, let us know. We'll be glad to take it on and tackle it. We plan out pumping these out more often, getting in at least every other week, if not every week, to get more topics out there and get more content out there for you. We're also looking at possibly having guest stars on like we did last week and continue that trend. So if you'd like to, while we're still early in our stage, hop on and have a chat with us as well about a specific topic, we'd be glad to do that. Just send us an email or let us know. Thank you again, and we'll catch you next time. Till the next one.